So we're sitting with Dave Cummings, who is the founder and broker of Cummings and Company Realtors.
That's right.
Which is the real estate brokerage that we work for, the esteemed brokerage we work for.
It is.
Yeah.
I just think we're just the best.
We are. Well, the stats say we're the best.
It's true.
So before we start, Dave, we've got this great award, right? Not as award, but who the hell is QWC? That's what we want to know.
Oh, yeah.
Quincy Wilson Crew.
All right, there we go.
It works.
Maybe okay.
Actually, I like Crew. Crew gives us street cred.
It's our fault. We should change our name.
His name's on the building. He can do
That's
whatever the
true.
hell he wants.
Yeah, that's okay. All right.
I like
so
the Crew gives us street
typo.
cred.
Sorry
henceforth,
about that.
we are the Quincy Wilson Crew.
There you go.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I don't know where to go from there, so let's get into it.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. All right, we'll take
Easy correction.
Just some humor.
Yeah. Some levity to start the day.
We just figure, we know you don't like these camera things. We figured we can get you laughing first.
Thank you.
I was reading your bio to try and get some background information on you, and on your bio it said before you were ever in real estate, you mowed lawns and you either owned a snowball stand or you worked at a snowball stand.
I owned it.
You owned the snowball stand.
It was sort of handed down from a neighbor up the street.
This is like a real snowball stand, or like one of those like lemonade stands when you were 6 that people just bought because they felt bad for you.
It was mobile.
Okay.
It was built. It was on wheels. It was almost like a wheelbarrow that was built and had the flavors and the ice shaver. And I had like we would buy the block of ice at House and Ice. And I would hand shave in the neighborhood. I would take it to my sister's TRC softball games.
Gotcha.
I would have lines of like 20 people in line while I would be shaving ice and putting it in the cup and then choosing their flavor, doing their money. And
nice.
It was a legit operation.
So what? Not like one of those like plastic cold kiss like Playmate snowball things. It was like a legit.
It was legit old school block of ice with this metal shaver thing that you hand shave the ice and put it in the cup, and we would load it in my mom's station wagon and take it to all my sister's games, and that's what I would do while she was playing.
That's
softball.
funny.
So you've been an entrepreneur since day one. You never wanted to work for somebody else then, it sounds like.
I guess. Yeah, that's kind of how it all sort of evolved.
Have you ever had like a real job, like a W-2, I work for someone else job?
I was my first W-2 job. I was making $3 an hour at Towson Rec Council, lining the fields and the basketball games, keeping score of the basketball games. I actually got a check from Baltimore County.
What was your
for
last
for $3 an hour?
What was your last like W-2 job?
The restaurant industry at
really?
Green Turtle and Fells Point when I was managing down there. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, that's funny.
I did that all through college.
Okay, interesting.
Well, not managing the entire time through college, but
Right.
working my
But
way
you
up
worked in
from
restaurants.
busboy. So I tell everybody I went from busboy to like manager, which was like dishwasher.
Right.
So I went up the line, and then when things got busy, I'd be back washing dishes as the manager.
Right.
Gotcha.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
That's
That's
right.
right. And I mean, you're Baltimore through and through, right? You've raised, stayed here, went to school here.
I'm a Baltimore moron or whatever as you want to say.
I mean, you went to high school here, you went to college here, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did spend a year in Huntington Beach, California,
Okay.
going to community college, which I did get 27 credits to
Hey.
transfer back to Towson.
There you go. Smart.
I had a great year of schooling, surfing, exploring,
Yeah.
all of California and northern Mexico.
Gotcha.
So I did get away for a little while. I've done a good bit of travel to try to take away my Baltimore life a little bit.
Yeah.
But yes, pretty much Baltimore through and through.
Yeah. I actually met one of your old lacrosse coaches at an open house I did.
Oh, yeah?
I don't remember his name.
Okay.
I don't remember his name. But he came in, did the whole thing, didn't like the house, and left. Came back in. He's like, "You work for Dave Cummings?" I said, "I do." He's like, "Oh, I used to coach him in lacrosse." I was like, "Oh, he was a good player."
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Thanks,
But,
Coach.
Yeah.
Did you play lacrosse in high school or college?
High school and 2 years of college, and then I did give up playing lax in college for my work life at the Green Turtle because I was having more fun and making money
There you
go. Than playing lacrosse for free.
What
Gotcha.
position did you play?
Midfield.
I played attack all grown up.
There you
You
go.
played lacrosse?
I got into college to play lacrosse.
Really?
Attack, yeah.
Lax,
You don't
lax
know
for
anything
life.
about sports,
I don't know.
so you're
I don't know
just
anything
like,
about lacrosse.
oh,
definitely.
you're
I'm just
short, so you can't be
That is
athletic.
right. I'm looking at
Yeah.
you, and you are very petite.
No, but so midfield, we're always like
Just ignores
midfield
me.
and defense. I've known you long enough. Middies and defense were always like the bigger guys, and attack we were like the small, quick ones who would always try to get around the defense and score all the goals.
Yeah.
Which ones are the ones with the really long sticks?
Defense.
Okay. Where'd you go to school? Towson?
Loyola High School, Towson University.
There we go. Okay, yeah. Oh, that's right, because the colors. Is that where their colors come from, Loyola?
Colors come from Loyola,
Okay.
I would per se, or if you went to Calvert Hall, it's the sun and the sky colors.
Sure. Okay, got
So
it.
we don't discriminate here about
Yes.
branding.
So
Okay.
if there's anybody has an issue with Loyola, we just say it's the sun and the sky.
So just equal to all.
Yes.
We're going to attract everybody. That's very
Yes.
smart, Dave. I want to talk about, so before you became a broker, I assume you were obviously a real estate agent.
Yes.
Talk to us about those early days of real
Yeah.
estate agent.
Basically, we want to know if you were any good.
Yeah, like, well, I mean, what, like,
We should look up my stats.
we tried
like
to. It didn't go back that far.
Oh, come on.
I mean, like, I
what
don't
are you
know.
saying? I'm like super old?
Well, no, but there's
I
that
think
saying
so.
like those who can't teach. So we're just wondering, like, were you a decent real estate agent? Were you like, screw this? Yeah.
We do need to look back. I
Okay.
think in my last year before I was a broker, I
Uh-huh.
think I did like 8 million in sales a year.
Okay, that's not bad. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it could be more, it could be less.
Okay.
It was a very hot market when I
Yeah,
first started, and I sold.
Nice.
I did well. Thank you very much.
Um,
That's how I got money to start all this.
well,
Like,
you
I
never
wasn't
know-
handing any
it's not
money.
something you like talk about at all. You never talk about your days as a real estate agent.
I know.
Do you miss it at all? Do you miss the actual
Definitely.
selling?
You answered that very fast.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Life would be a little simpler probably for me. No offense. No, I like the connection and with the various people, and then I really loved always getting like the referral, because that was
Right.
like the biggest compliment. Is like somebody would say, so and so reached out to me, said you did an amazing job helping them, that you were awesome.
Yeah.
And, we really want to use you based off everything they told us. So that was always the great, like helping them, getting them to close and seeing them happy, and then hearing from one of their friends was like always like the ultimate compliment.
Yeah.
Right. How do you think real estate? So from your days as just like an agent before you became a broker, how do you think real estate is different now?
Definitely the technology has shifted so much. I saw that sort of coming when I first became a broker and set my business model up. Seeing that, I didn't realize how much it was going to take off. But, when I started, you used to, handwrite contracts with clients and then go drop them off through the mail slot at the other agent's office. You could fax it to them, but faxes were so unreliable that it just made more sense just to get in the car and drive. And then you would wait for them to go drive and pick it up and then drive to their clients and meet with their clients and review the offer. Where now clients just say, I'm interested, and then they go back to their home, you go back to your office, you get it all set up, and you send it to them over a digital signature format. Right. They sign online. They could be driving down the road, signing in their car seat, pull over in their car and sign on their phone, and then it gets over to the agent right away, and the agent gets it to the other client. So it's just everything can move so much faster now, and I don't think agents realize how good they have it in some way, shape, or form. Pluses and minuses. Now it's becoming like, clients can reach you at 11 o'clock at night by calling you and texting you on your cell phone. Where when I first started, like I got my first cell phone because I was in real estate. I didn't even have a cell phone until I got my license.
That's funny.
And even then, the cell phones didn't even have like text messaging capabilities initially.
Right. I imagine there's probably a lot more real estate agents, sort of relatively speaking, nowadays than there were when you were an agent. Or is that not true?
I don't know the numbers for sure,
Right.
but I would definitely say so. I mean, none of my friends' circle were like, I'm going to, go to college and go to Bucknell and like all the other nice fancy schools they went to, and then say, I'm going to become a real estate agent.
Sure, right.
But I was in the restaurant industry, and, I was a secondary education major, and I was enjoying working and being in the business world, and real estate just became a natural fit for me after I tried to dabble as a day trader in the stock market.
Interesting.
And I thought that I could do the bartending and managing thing, and then put money into account and currency trade and try to figure out a lot of other quick money making schemes.
Right.
And lost my ass off basically.
Nice. Okay.
I lost pretty much all my money.
Right.
I would work all summer, save like 10 grand, and then put it into Nortel Networks and Cisco and all the various tech stocks, and basically it went way down. And I tried to buy it at low and dollar cost average, as they call it, and then it went down even further.
Right.
And I said, you know what, like I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm not going to play in the stock market. I'm going to dabble. I'm going to get into real estate. And that's what's more a solid investment if I'm going to do any real estate investing and also do the sales side thing.
Right.
And, do a little bit of both and have more control of my investments, basically.
So did you
and
have
how I run my financial life and not rely on some company or the economy, to see,
Yeah,
where I,
and whether or not other investors see the same value you do. And
yeah.
did
exactly.
you ever have anybody approach you and say, "Hey, Dave, you'd be good at real estate," or that's something that you thought, "This is what I'd be good at. I'm going to try it"?
No one ever approached me. I just loved like the idea of like an open market. So like in the stock market was an open market where things can go up and down, and if you make the right decisions, you can have big upside. So I felt like the real estate market when I first got in was on an upswing, and I just loved the idea of like watching the market and see how that things can sell and go up and go down, on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
Did you say you majored in secondary education?
Yes.
So were your intentions to be a teacher at one point, or?
They were.
Interesting.
I had a lifestyle in mind of teaching, coaching, living at the beach this summer,
And now you have no free time.
Yeah, I was gonna say your lifestyle's
It's the
very
complete
different.
opposite.
Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. I feel like between the teaching and the restaurant, I really sort of cut my teeth in the service industry,
Yeah.
and like trying to educate and help people. So I think the combination of those two things probably did help me land where I am.
Right.
And I never worked for like a larger brokerage like a Long & Foster or Coldwell Banker per se. I started with a very small, just company that just opened kind of thing. So I never really had the background of like what those big companies, how they operate. So I came in completely sort of green when I was doing my own thing because the company I had worked for had just opened and I was their first agent.
Right.
And I got my broker's license after working for them for 3 years and just had a sort of a blank slate of how I was going to do things and not like sort of you have to do this, you have to do this to be successful as a real estate brokerage.
So you got your broker license quick then?
Yeah, I was in the class after 2.5 years of being licensed, and you can't take the test until you've been licensed for 3 years. So after it was like a few days after my 3-year mark, I was able to sit for the test and then pass the test.
And so how long? So you got your broker's license in 3 years, but then how long was it before you decided to start a brokerage?
I started like immediately.
Right.
Yeah, so I was licensed at like 25, and I
Right.
opened Cummings and Company when I was 28.
Wow.
So, like, we see you on a daily basis. Why start a brokerage?
Honestly, I was ripped off by my first broker. And I did switch to another broker that was a new startup, but I got a judgment in Harford County Circuit Court along with 2 other agents, and he basically just did not pay us our commissions.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let someone do that to me again.
Gotcha.
So it kind of like spurred me to say I want to do it my own way. And I'd already done it on my own, so I didn't need to go backwards, in my opinion, to a larger brokerage, established brokerage. I was already sort of learned the ropes, so I was like, I'm just going to do this on my own and have control. And I didn't really start off with a plan of like, I'm going to, build this up and have 500 realtors working for me. I just wanted to, make sure that I wasn't going to get my commissions sort of taken from me and like go hide in a corner and I could never find the guy.
Interesting. So Cummings as we see it today was not, I mean, I'm sure it was a plan at some point, but initially this was not the plan.
No.
Interesting.
It was basically just sort of service my clients, have a couple other agents help me offset the office space and everything, and just have a sort of small, exclusive sort of group of agents that I trusted to work with. And then the business model was attractive to them, and then it just sort of word of mouth just sort of started to grow.
I mean, it's good.
No, go ahead. I just want to talk about the business model.
I would say it's like when I got here. So this is the only brokerage I've ever been with. You too, right?
But I appreciate that. Thank you guys both very much.
And so when I got here, I don't think there were 100 agents yet when I got here.
Probably not.
So at some
we
point,
just probably opened the Ruxin office when you got here. All right,
it was maybe a year or two afterwards. Yeah,
definitely under 100 agents.
Yeah. So at some point the plan had to change to this, right? I mean, at some point, because I mean, it was kind of, I don't want to call it slow. I mean, it was very steady at first, but then at some point it kind of was like it took off. So at some point the plan changed, right?
Yeah, I think like starting out at 28 years old, I just like my business maturity really wasn't there. I was kind of just learning the ropes and still trying to enjoy my youth and everything. And then as time progressed, and I matured a little bit and I understood the market more and I had more infrastructure sort of in place and I had more staff a little, I had my first full-time staff member in place. It gave me more confidence to sort of go out and try to expand things. And then, just as I got more agents, the agents were like, hey, we need a location here, we need this, we need that.
Right.
And I kind of started to see, it's like, okay, like if I don't start to provide these things, they're going to go elsewhere.
Gotcha.
So it's either, kind of like get serious, get real, or, be dying. So
Right.
I kind of came to the conclusion that, I needed to really sort of step up my game. And, other competitors were starting to come along. Other people were able to buy different like various franchises that were
Right.
set up with a lot of other systems in place. And I could see, like, if I don't start to mirror them or step up my game, that people are going to jump over those other franchises. So it's sort of the competitors. I'm competitive.
Right,
So the
totally,
competitors
that
make
makes
me
sense.
more competitive.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your model is very unique. I mean, I don't think it doesn't look like from the outside that you mirror anybody using that like word mirror, but you give your agents a lot of autonomy, I think, which leads to more of a individual branding and team branding. Like we do a lot of stuff on our own, and with the support of like capital C Cummings behind us, we know that you're there if we need it.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like a lot of these other brokerages, and this is the only one I've ever been in as well, really say, this is how we do it. This is what you're going to do. Go. Like, why did you feel like giving your agents and your company more autonomy than the others was the right
I mean,
way?
I just, I like to think like, we're all adults and we all, have different ways of wanting to do things. And so I don't like to micromanage people.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to feel free to do things how they want, not to be put in like a certain sort of, box. So, the business model is didn't create the business model. The business model is somewhat similar to like, what Remax is basically has basically started the business model that I kind of have at a more expensive pace. And they're franchises, so an owner can take a territory, but that owner maybe not be able to expand to a different territory. So my business model allows the agents to, keep even more of their commissions, which they can then invest back into themselves and their clients to improve their business and what they can offer to their clients. And then, I have the freedom to open offices in all different areas, and I sort of, have, as a way for all the agents to sort of connect much easier with, we have the same Wi-Fi password, the same
Right.
copier, some just different little simple things. And then, how we're all connected internally on our sort of private Facebook group. We can ask different questions if we're, working in an area that maybe we're not as familiar with. So I just kind of made it a little bit more collaborative and a little bit more united than a lot of like the other sort of brokerages. I
Yeah.
feel like.
Gotcha.
And you can see it. I mean, that Facebook group is active
It's
all
very
day, every
active.
day.
Yeah.
And there's always questions. Hey, I'm looking for an agent in Delaware.
Right,
and we'll have 5 or 6 Cummings agents. Hey, I'm licensed there, happy to help.
Yep.
And I just don't, it doesn't feel like you get that other places doing deals with agents and other brokerages. And we're not hitting on any other brokerage by name, but you never feel that sense of that they have like the support behind them that we do here, which is kind of cool.
Yes. Yeah.
And we get recruiting calls. I used to tell you, hey, I'm looking to expand my team, and we're like, no, I'm good, thanks.
Right.
Like we're good here. And one guy even said, every time I call a Cummings agent, they say the same thing.
Yeah.
We're good here, which is good for you.
Yeah, I appreciate
yeah.
that.
Dave, I don't want to put you on the spot, but
You're gonna.
I'm going to. So again, from 100ish when I got here
Mm-hmm.
to how many agents now? 500ish.
A little over 500.
Okay, a little over 500. Which one was easier? Which one? I mean, I'm not going to ask you which one you like better because that's not.
You mean the
that's
first 100 or the
unfair
second
question.
400?
I just like which. I mean, like things have grown so quickly. Like, let's ask this question: how's it different going from when it was 100 agents versus over 500 agents? What's different now?
One of the agents here, Mark Reese, said to me when this was all starting to ramp up, and I think he, for whatever reason, could tell that things were
Right.
going to ramp up. He said, is this what you want? If you want to have, I think he's used, I think we're at like 100. He's like, if you want to have, 250 agents, like, you got to be prepared for what that means for your
Right.
life. Are you ready to sign up for that responsibility?
Right.
And I will say that, from what I work back then to the amount I work now, I every year I feel like I'm working harder and more hours,
Sure.
adding more responsibility and more stress.
Yeah.
But I'm young. My kids are young. I love what I'm doing. There's definitely some, there's always good days and bad days. There's some days I just want to bury my head in the dirt and, say F this and not come back tomorrow because people are just, not rational sometimes in our industry.
That's just real estate in general. Yeah.
But I mentally at that point when he said that to me, I put in check in my head and said, okay, this is what I want. This is what I'm signing up for.
Right.
And it's going to hopefully help, benefit me financially. And now I kind of say this is all just going to be benefit my children.
Right. Yeah.
Because I'm just going to, I'm going to have to, the way the industry is, it's not like you just like get everybody in place and then you go sit on the beach.
Right.
Like, you have to be there. And there's just so much going on. So it's not a walk away type business and then go start a different business.
Right.
This has to be kind of sort of your 100% focus. And I literally plan my schedule to be ready every day knowing that someone's going to need me for something and it's relatively time sensitive.
Gotcha.
So I kind of mentally have had to prepare for that. And that includes nights and weekends. And I try to set some boundaries and
Sure,
stuff,
yeah.
but there are certain things that just, have to get squared away. So whether I'm nights, weekends, on vacation, whatever it may be, I still have to be sort of glued to my phone and ready, be prepared to, assist in a situation that needs my sort of blessing or advice.
Right. And now you also have people in place too. I mean, you have a couple people in place too, like
yes.
Paul Stagg, who does anybody watch the show Billions?
I love that show. I'm going back through it again.
Oh yeah, I've watched Billions.
I always think of Paul Stagg as the Wags.
Uh-huh.
The Wags of the Cummings organization. Yeah. I don't know if he would like that comparison, but that's what, every time I see it, that's what I think of. I don't know. It's funny.
He's like right hand man.
Yeah, he's just like
enforcer.
Wags.
Paul's. Yeah, he's just like
start calling him Wags.
Yeah, he's just I don't know. Paul's like you have that question.
I call him my fixer.
Exactly. You're like,
Yeah.
you're like I have this question. I know it's total BS, but we deal with so much bullcrap in real estate. You're like, I don't want to bother Dave with it. It's 7:00 on a Saturday, but I don't know the answer, and it needs to be answered. You're
Right.
like, Paul's the guy.
Yeah.
Because he'll answer your text. He'll get back to you. So that's what I always think of.
Yes.
Dave, I think people are obviously going to want to know what are your thoughts on COVID and real estate? I'm sure people have asked that question a zillion times, but
yeah, I mean, COVID and real estate, we did not really know where this situation was going to take us, the pandemic, and I feel terrible about everyone that's been affected by it. For our industry, it's just, at that time, the interest rates just hit some really all-time lows, and that really helped with people deciding to maybe make a move, and, inventory has just sort of shrunk, so it's just sort of created a huge amount of demand. So it'll be interesting to see how the year plays out, if actually more transactions and sales volume, occur compared to previous years. But, I do feel with the vaccine taking hold that, by sort of Memorial Day weekend, sort of some of our older population are going to be more comfortable to make a move, whether they're selling their single family home that their children are no longer living in and moving to a condo, or selling a condo and going to a retirement home or something. That will sort of open up inventory, in my opinion, and hopefully that will sort of unclog the backlog of inventory, and that will create more move-up ability for somebody that's in a townhouse to buy a single family, and then that will open up that townhouse for a first-time home buyer.
Right.
So I hope that as we move throughout 2021, throughout the summer and into fall, the market will sort of settle down a little bit and not be as competitive right now. For buyers, which is mainly really competitive for buyers. So, all these things go in cycles. It seems to happen about every 10 years.
Right.
Something in the world shifts and changes, and whether it makes real estate really good or really bad, it's sort of the cycle, and we're found ourselves in that sort of cycle right now where things are really hot.
Are you seeing the same thing kind of like that we're seeing sort of as a microcosm in a group setting? So like deals necessarily may not be up, like unit deals, but certainly like average price is way up.
Prices are definitely in across the board, from first time houses to single families to every pretty much genre across the board.
Right.
Yeah, the price points have been increasing.
Right. Which I know doesn't help the brokerage model, but do you think prices come back down?
I think they'll level back off. I mean, I was looking at like 2006. I mean, there's still like some condos downtown that I see that the prices people are selling now because they've been renting them for years. They're still not getting what they paid in 2006. Right. So I don't think the prices are astronomical. I think, relatively speaking, Baltimore, Metro, Maryland has fair price points compared to some other places in the country.
Sure, yeah.
But I think, as inventory opens up, things will settle back down a little bit. I won't
Right.
say, I don't feel that we're going to have a major price dip.
Okay.
The fact that the lending guidelines are still really tight. So when we had the last previous boom that created a lot of downfall after the boom with foreclosures and short sales, that was based on lenders basically doing no documentation loans. And it was really creating just anybody that was wanted to buy a house could, but they may have not necessarily been in the right financial position to buy and be able to maintain their payments and everything on what they were buying long term. And then we ended up having a downshift. So this time around, we're seeing price increases, but people are still having to get a very standard loan and qualify. And the guidelines are much tighter because the banks don't want to be in the same position that they were in 2006.
Right, and I think most of the price increases, and obviously, you can agree or disagree, most of the price increases have a lot to do with just lack of inventory this time around, too.
Yes.
Do you think that when foreclosures and evictions are in place again, do you think it'll have a dramatic effect on prices?
I definitely think it will. I don't think it's going to be dramatic.
Okay.
I don't think somebody that bought a house, say, for $650,000 and then their neighbor has been having tough times and ends up foreclosing and it sells for $575, automatically is going to create that new comp in the neighborhood. I think I think it'll be a more subtle sort of drop. I don't think it's going to be dramatic.
Yeah.
I don't think one-off short sale foreclosure here and there could offset some of the comparables for a future buyer to get maybe a better deal, but it's not going to be as widespread that it brings down the entire market.
And I think that's pretty much the consensus across the board, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, prices will level off. Whether they actually dip is, up for debate. I think, like, anytime we see prices spike in any market, they really never come all the way back down. They may drop a little bit, but never back to pre-high.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm telling my clients what the increase in price 19 to 20 is unsustainable. Like, you can't have 17% growth every year. It just isn't possible. So I'm telling them it may feel like a dip in price because we're not going to hit 17%, but we may hit 8 or 9, which if you kept that line graph from 19 through 21, it's probably where we should have been in the first place.
Right.
So you can call it a correction, but it's not a correction like 2008 where, like you were saying, everything was inflated. I get asked all the time, are we in a bubble? And it's like the indicators aren't there that this is a bubble.
Yeah.
It's different.
Sure.
But again, like Dave said, the difference in then was that people who were buying the houses had no business buying houses.
Yeah. How much do you make? Oh, we need you to make more.
Well,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, it was stated income, right? I mean, that was the name of the game then.
Yes.
So, like, the market is one thing, but what do you think about, like, the future for the real estate agents? For guys like Mark and I, like, do you think with all the technology and all these different, I feel like every year real estate agents, they go through this Zillow panic, or they go through whatever the new Zillow is, or I mean, there's always some panic happening amongst real estate agents.
Yes.
Like, are we out of jobs in 5 years? Like, what's the future of the real estate agent?
I am, very confident that the future of the real estate market, the real estate industry, with agents assisting clients, is very much going to be stable and continue to head down the same path that it's always been. So, I mean, since I got in the business, 17 years ago, Zillow was kind of starting right when I got started, and they were growing. Everybody was going to say they're going to, change the whole industry and everything's going to change. And then a few other different companies came along with different business models for discountings for sellers and stuff, and they all did okay, and they got their piece of the market, and some of them are now no longer in business, and now you have some other sort of business models that have come along that are also geared towards lowering the commission for the sellers. And my take on that is every buyer and seller has the option to do whatever they want, work with whoever they want, whatever company they want. But it seems to go back to that the clients recognize that this is a large investment, whether they're buying or selling. They recognize that, hey, if I'm selling my house and I work with someone that's been doing this for the last 10 or 15 years, they know all the details, they know how to head off all the problems, that I'm going to pay more than maybe a discount company, but I'm going to have more certainty that I'm going to get from where I want to go to where I want to go, and I'm willing to pay that extra money because I'm not quite certain about some of these discounters and if the people that are working there are as experienced to handle the various situations.
Right.
So it's like, we all have options when we buy anything.
Sure.
We always just sort of like look at the value of like, what am I buying? Like, sometimes I want to buy something that's I know is cheap, but
Right.
I just know that that's fine. And then other times I'm like, I want something that's quality
Right.
because this is important to me. So when people recognize it's like, if I'm selling my house and things don't go well with this particular company or agent, I may have to end up making 2 or 3 mortgage payments if I have to go back on the market.
Right.
Or, I may have to, make more mortgage payments and lower my price because this person didn't handle it properly, and now we're back on the market and we look like sort of a tainted listing or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think people recognize that, there's a lot riding on this, the price of the house, the mortgage payments that are occurring no matter what, taxes,
The
insurance.
stress factor of trying to sell your house. Yeah.
So people sort of say, they talk to their friends and they know different agents. They used an agent to help them buy the house initially. And they say, you know what? I am completely fine with paying Quincy and Mark X amount, which would be, say, maybe $5,000 or $8,000 more than
Right.
if I were to use this discount company. But I'm completely fine with that because I completely trust them and I want them to handle this the way I want it to be handled, and I have a relationship with them, and there's that trust factor, you
Right.
know. I think COVID sort of brought out like, all this distance that everybody, had to be away. It's like that personal connection. You're kind of like, okay, now I kind of get it.
Right,
Like,
totally,
the
yeah.
relationships and the trust factor. It's like, I always say like, the face-to-face meeting, Zoom has been great and everything, but the face-to-face meeting won't ever go away because you build a certain amount of trust just being in front of someone. I think like the body language is all like part of it, and you get to really know somebody so much better in person than you
Right.
do over Zoom. So I just feel like that personal connection that you get with the real estate agent, is not something that you're going to get with an online company.
Right.
And that trust factor is just not going to be there.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah,
On
and,
both
and-
sides.
Yeah.
and that, like you said, that price difference, maybe going from a discount broker to a real estate agent with experience and the network that you need, that price difference is typically made up in the sale of your house. Like
Yeah.
there is a huge difference between the quality of agent that you work
Yeah.
with and
Right.
the corresponding purchase
I
price.
think, like a seller may say, look at this commission we're going to pay, and be like, I can do this, and then they end up hiring you, and then they go through the process and they go, man, thank gosh I didn't try to do that, because like we had this
Hear
hiccup
that
with the,
all the time.
yes, like
Right.
all these different potential things that were going on that like, Quincy and Mark, like, their commission was in value, it was made so much sense, because if not, this whole thing would have blown up. We wouldn't have gotten the house that we wouldn't have gotten. We'd be back at square one, well worth it kind of thing.
Yeah.
Totally. So what's next? I mean, what's the next big thing? I mean, you've got a couple of things going for Cummings and Company, new announcements. What's the next big one?
The exclusive, Dave. We want an
Yeah,
exclusive.
Give us something big here, Dave. What's in the fire?
I think I've always been sort of a slow and steady guy. To be
Yeah, I know
honest
you
with
are. Yeah, yeah.
like I'm not looking to take over the world
Yeah.
tomorrow.
You got like a Cummings on the moon or something?
Yeah,
Like, what's happening?
I think that's been
On Mars, SpaceX.
Right.
I think that's been probably one of the better things for me. It's
Right.
like, man, I would love to take over the world tomorrow.
Right,
This thing.
yeah.
But I've sort of learned that slow and steady and quality over
Right.
quantity works the best. I mean, right now, I guess the next thing that I've really been focused on and is finding the correct space in Anne Arundel County.
Gotcha.
That's just sort of one spot on the map that would help sort of round out my sort of loop around the Beltway. That's on the horizon. I really hope that gets squared away in 2021. I've got different sort of tech systems that we're working on.
Right.
Always have a lot of balls in
Right.
the air kind of thing.
So you just mentioned before expanding sort of brick and mortar and trying to round out like an Anne Arundel County location in Annapolis.
Sure.
With the rise of the more or the all online brokerages, and there are a couple, and we won't name any, how do you see Cummings in that world? Do you see Cummings having a online component, or what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think, Cummings already has a great sort of balance and blend of brick and mortar and online. I think many of our agents, do not take office space, and they mainly do work from their homes already. And we have things in place such as online escrow deposit portal for our buyer clients to make their deposit on a property they're under contract on, right on our website. And I think I'm the only brokerage, in the state that I'm aware of, including these online brokers that I'm aware of, that had that. And we've had that for over 3 years now, way before COVID. We have an online portal for tenants to make their first month's rent payments, online portals for rental applications. So we have a lot of online stuff already. Like we have our whole back end of our website called Agent Tools, where the agents can access pretty much anything they need 24/7 a day from us without having to ask a staff member. We've detailed that out very much so. So I feel like we have like a great blend. I still believe in the brick and mortar because I still believe that agents want to come in and meet their clients, not having to fight for a table at Starbucks.
Yeah.
Walk in and not know. They can schedule one of our conference rooms, online. So we have an online conference room scheduler. There's a mobile app for that,
Right.
So everything that we have, they can do online, and then they can have access to the offices with one key to actually, meet clients, to write a contract, to discuss things, to have their closing, so that they can, be in a professional environment. I always like meeting people at the office because I don't want all the distractions of who's behind me at, Panera Bread,
Yeah.
Having a different conversation about something that I don't want to hear about, So I think it's a great blend of sort of both online and traditional here at Cummings and Cummings.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. My clients love the fact that they never have to get an actual piece of paper if they don't want one.
Right.
We do, I do everything electronically.
Sure.
But when we bring people here, other agents from other brokerages and clients are always like, this office is impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Like, first of all, you've done a great job building these out. They look great.
Thank you.
But
Yeah.
even other agents are like, well, like this is nice. So that there's a perceived value. There's that actual sort of quantitative value of having this space and having the client see that you work in a professional environment. And this isn't some fly by night.
Sure.
Like I found you online and now you're selling me a house. Like this is a legit.
Yeah.
Impressive
I
place.
love the positive energy and stuff. So if you have sort of blah sort of office space that doesn't have the details and there's no life there, it just doesn't have the right energy and vibe.
Yeah.
So I have put a lot of money into the spaces, a lot more than many other folks have, but it's created like the environment that people are like, feel good to come in. So when you feel good, you'd start to do more, positive and productive things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely am a big believer in that. And when the clients come in, they're like, yes, they're like, this is a serious operation, and that's what they want. I mean, they see HGTV, they see all the fancy stuff
Right.
in LA and New York and Miami, and I think they sense like, hey, these guys actually care about their sort of their presentation.
Right.
Yeah.
And also from the agent's point of view too. I mean, like I get, okay, online brokerages are great, but Mark and I talk about this all the time. Like I still like coming to an office. I like, that. Remember when you first started? I tried to explain to you like, the amount of production on the single row here is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So you learn so much from people. There's so much collaboration that goes on. If you need help with a question, you need help with marketing, you just, and obviously, before the market is the way it is, but like, you could get properties, sold, stuff like that. I mean, it's just the amount of stuff you can do with agents around you.
Yes.
Is great in actual offices.
Yes.
So I'm a big proponent of going to an actual office to work.
Yeah, it's that network that we talked about right at the beginning of if there is an issue, and you're right,
Right.
me coming from like a blue collar world where
Right.
you have a government salary and
Right.
that's it, coming to this place and seeing how successful a lot of the people are who work here, and they're in the office every day.
Right.
They're here at 8, they leave last, like,
Right.
and that's what it takes to do it. And I think without having that brick and mortar place to build that relationship, I would not be to the point where I am in my career without actually coming here every day.
Yeah, we have the people that are here every day that have their particular office space, and we have a lot of people that work from home, but they come in
Right.
every day
Sure.
for a little while
Totally.
and just collaborate and
Soak
network
it
as
up,
well.
yeah.
So there's like a lot of options here for
Right.
folks.
All right, one last question, Dave.
Okay.
Speaking of offices, what's your favorite office?
Yeah.
Come on. Come on, boss man, give it to us.
gosh. So
Come on.
I only have my own physical office in
I know.
Canton and Timonium.
I know. But which one?
So since I'm in Timonium, I'm being interviewed by you guys. You want me to say Timonium, but I'm going to defer to that. All the offices are my favorite offices.
That's a good answer.
I love all my
right?
children.
Right, yeah.
And honestly, every single one is has its own sort of different sort of
That's
vibe.
so unique. I mean, that is so true.
Yeah.
And
every office has its own little flavor to it.
I'm happy. I love going into every office too.
I'm
not I don't want to go to this office. Every office has its own set of group of people that I adore and I love seeing. I am here mostly because it's closest to my house.
Sure, yeah.
And it's where I have my own space.
Right.
But every single one, I get excited when I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to Bel Air and see, I wonder who's going to be there today. I hope I run into so and so.
I walked in the Rocks one time. I was like, I don't belong here. I turned around and left.
I call that the Pottery Barn.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm gonna break something. I'm not gonna stay here.
A lot of furniture. Most locations are pretty kind of like a sleek sort of modern decor. And Ruxton, I just the building, the way the building was, and everything. We did do some Pottery Barn sort of furniture.
Yeah.
And so I call that the Pottery Barn office. And yes, they are very professional.
I walked in. I was like, I'm gonna make somebody upset. I have to go. Right.
I'll clean up my shoes.
But they are all great folks there.
They are. No, I love the people at Ruxton. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know you're busy, so we don't want to keep you all day. But thank you for taking the time and giving us the opportunity to do this podcast. First of all, allowing us to sort of go out on our own and brand our team, QWC.
QWC all the way.
Quincy Wilson crew in the house.
crew.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate you guys having me. Now I can rest easy tonight.
Yeah.
There you go.
I don't know why you get so nervous. You're good now.
You were
You're
nervous.
you are
you
good
were
on
fine.
camera. You're good at this stuff.
You guys are helping me along here.
There you
That's
go.
what we do.
Mr. Cashin mostly. But
Yeah,
thanks guys. I hope this helps.
Yeah.
And appreciate anybody who listens.
Thanks,
See ya.
Dave.
All right.
See ya.
See ya.
Hey everyone, thanks for taking the time to listen to the podcast.
Fucking Mike Tyson.
All right. Hey everyone, thanks for taking the time to listen to the podcast.
Make sure you follow us on social media. Check us out on searchbmore.com and subscribe to the podcast. And all future content
Yes.
is available to you
Yes.
if you subscribe.
Perfect.
Do it.
Thank you. Good
See ya.
job. Bye.